This morning, the NFL investigating this prank call to draft hopeful Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, picking up the phone Friday, thinking it was a coach, inviting him to join the team.
Do this. Do you understand me? Do you understand me? Do you understand me? You're a man. We don't play like that.
I don't feel like this happened, for no reason. All this is of course, fuel to the fire. And under no circumstance, we all know this shouldn't have happened. But we understand we on the bigger and better thing.
Happy, man?
God is so good.
Hey, do you forgive the prank snub?
God is so good, man.
Okay, man. Thanks very much, buddy. We need hard knocks, bro. We need hard knocks.
That NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I believe, allegedly, was also involved on this scandal to embarrass, humiliate, and sabotage both Deion Sanders and his son Shedeur.
Strictly for that reason.
But it wasn't a coach or anyone from an NFL team.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
Instead, it was these young men seen in this video circulating on social media.
Shedeur Sanders and the wild NFL draft drama are still shaking things up, and everyone's scrambling to figure out what really went down on draft day. Word on the street, some people believe NFL owners were out to humble Deion Sanders by messing with his son's draft prospects. And guess what? It sounds like Deion agrees. He's now claiming there's a whole behind-the-scenes conspiracy. Yep. A real setup where certain NFL execs and billionaire owners use Shedeur Sanders as a pawn to try and put Deion in his place. One NFL insider already spilled some tea. Apparently, some coaches and owners felt like Shedeur came off too entitled and cocky in interviews, and they weren't feeling the fact that he skipped the combine either. But here's where it gets messier. Folks in those high-up NFL offices supposedly weren't just mad at Shedeur. They were straight up fed up with Deion himself. Some of them reportedly thought Deion was out here acting like he ran the whole NFL. And let's be real, these powerful white billionaire owners weren't about to let someone like Deion, loud and proud, take the spotlight unchecked. Let's not forget, out of the NFL's 32 teams, 31 are owned by white majority owners. Only one team, the Jacksonville Jaguars, is owned by a non-white majority owner, Pakistani-American Shahid Khan. Analysts and fans are saying this is exactly why Shedeur's draft stock mysteriously dropped. They're calling it a prime example of how bold, outspoken black athletes get penalized for behavior that's often praised when white players do the exact same thing. Even public figures like Dr. Umar are saying it straight up. NFL owners allegedly wanted to embarrass both Deion and Shedeur Sanders, just to remind them who's really in charge.
I believe that all 32 NFL team owners and their executives and NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, I believe they all came together in a KK Ku Klux Klan type of clandestine meeting, and they decided, allegedly, I believe, that they were going to embarrass, humiliate, and sabotage both Deion Sanders and his son Shedeur Sanders on draft day.
But not everybody is riding with the whole blackballed theory. NFL Hall of Famer Chris Carter straight up said there was no collusion at all. None. In fact, he threw some serious shade at Deion and Shedeur Sanders, claiming they were just making way too much noise off the field and completely overplayed their hand.
Well, a number of things happened. The number one thing that didn't happen was there was not a collusion message with the NFL owners.
Okay, what? Okay, a lot of people think that.
Now, the fans, they're totally split on this one. Some folks are calling it exactly what it looks like, racism. They're pointing out how white players with way worse attitudes still get second chances and fat contracts, no problem. But then there's the other side saying this one's on Deion. They're out here claiming he set himself and Shedeur up by being loud, taking jabs at the NFL, and treating Colorado like it was his personal franchise. People are like, you want to act like you're the boss? All right, cool. But don't be shocked when the league comes for your son to remind you who's really in charge. So now the big question is, was Shedeur really blackballed? Or did Deion's big mouth backfire and cost his son a top spot in the draft?
You have said that if the right team does not pick him, that you will intervene.
That's my son.
Especially after reports that Deion tried to control where Shedeur went, like he was pulling strings behind the scenes. Things got real tense inside the Sanders household during draft night. Emotions were off the charts. Deion, aka Coach Prime, was slumped on the couch in Texas, clearly stunned. When the Saints picked up QB Tyler Show instead of Shedeur Sanders, all Deion could do was sit there shaking his head in straight up disbelief and disappointment.
With the 40th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Tyler Shuck, quarterback.
Switch it up.
Quarterback. There it is.
Wow.
One of the most intriguing prospects.
Wow.
26 years old in September. He played parts of 7 seasons in college. Look at the reaction.
You got the phone? Who got that number?
And it wasn't just 1 or 2 guys. 5 quarterbacks got drafted before Shedeur Sanders. Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, Tyler Show, Jalen Milroe, and Dylan Gabriel all went ahead of Shedeur. Even though most draft experts had him ranked as the second best QB in the whole class. Then came the real shocker. The Cleveland Browns, who were rumored to be all in on Shedeur, straight up passed on him in the 3rd round and picked Dylan Gabriel instead. And that's wild because Cleveland had been low-key all over Shedeur. They interviewed him at the Combine, pulled up to his pro day in Colorado, and even flew him in for a private dinner. That's some serious effort. And yet when it came time to choose, they ghosted him. Again and again, as Shedeur kept slipping, round after round, Deion Sanders was left sitting there speechless.
All right, y'all gotta stop. Yeah, this is
It's funny when he's lost for words.
I know what's going on. I like to have hope, and I like to trust God. This
ain't God.
This
the devil.
This the devil.
Hold on, Dad.
And then finally, in the 5th round, the Browns did pick him up with the 144th overall pick. But let's keep it real. They had 6 chances to grab him before that, and they passed every single time. For a lot of people, it felt like a cold-blooded snub, like Cleveland was saying, "We'll take you, but only after we're done looking at everybody else." That slide had fans and analysts scratching their heads, wondering, what happened to Shedeur Sanders? This was the same guy that scouts and media had hyped as one of the top quarterback prospects in the draft. Some had him ranked right behind Caleb Williams. So how did he fall so hard? It wasn't just about talent. Shedeur had the skills, the numbers, the swagger. What's really throwing people off is how the NFL execs seem to just ignore all the buzz, all the highlights, and all the hype surrounding his name. And with Deion Sanders, aka Primetime, being such a loud, flashy, and unapologetic presence in football, a lot of folks are thinking maybe that had something to do with it too. Now people are starting to ask, was it just talent? Or did personal bias and attitude play a role in Shedeur Sanders' draft day slide? Word is, some insiders with direct access to team discussions are saying flat out, NFL coaches and owners just don't vibe with Deion or Shedeur's energy. One anonymous coach from a team picking in the top 7 spilled the tea, saying Shedeur came off as brash and arrogant during their team interview. That alone was enough to raise red flags in those front offices. NFL draft expert Todd McShay even jumped in and doubled down. He said attitude was the main issue, and Shedeur's sit-downs with NFL teams reportedly did not go well at all.
Shedeur already had, because of his size, because of his lack of arm strength, because of his lack of mobility, already had a pool that was smaller than other guys like Jackson Dart, Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, Jalen Milroe. He already had this shrunk pool, okay? But then he went and turned off some teams with his attitude. And then I told you recently, there's I have been told by 2 different sources that the back and forth with an install package with the New York Giants and Brian Daboll, so it did not go smoothly. And I don't need to give any more details. So now that's a 3rd organization that I'm aware of. I don't know if there are any others.
But wait, it doesn't stop there. NFL reporter Tom E. Curran hinted that Shedeur's draft drop wasn't just about him. It had to do with Deion and the people managing Shedeur acting like they were running the show. Word is, they were trying to dictate which teams could and couldn't draft him, like they had that kind of pull.
Last night with one general manager who is considering taking Shedeur Sanders today. He pointed back all the way to March 2024 and something that Shedeur's father, Deion Sanders, said on a podcast talking about both Shedeur and Travis Hunter, saying that if they are drafted by a team that they don't want to go to, he's going to step in and pull an Eli, meaning force those players to not actually go to that team and try to get them traded. Throughout the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders very much proceeded as if he was dictating to clubs where he was going to go, rather than how the draft works, which is the other way around. And there were a bunch of opportunities missed at the various checkpoints through that pre-draft process. Go all the way back to All-Star seasons.
Meanwhile, Deion Sanders isn't backing down. He's reportedly telling people close to him that this whole thing was a setup, a real-life conspiracy to knock both him and Shedeur down a few pegs. According to sources, Deion believes powerful NFL owners just couldn't handle the idea of a father-son duo with that much swagger stepping into their space and shaking up the old school system. And if that's true, then this wasn't just about football, it was about control, power, and pride. According to Deion, these NFL owners didn't just see Shedeur Sanders as a skilled QB, they saw him as a threat. Not just because of his talent, but because of the bold confidence and unapologetic attitude that both he and his father bring wherever they go. And as if draft day wasn't already stressful enough, Shedeur ended up right in the middle of another wild controversy, a fake phone call prank that had folks doing double takes. Turns out the prank was pulled by none other than Jax Albrecht, the 21-year-old son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Albrecht.
Now to the NFL draft drama surrounding Shedeur Sanders. Deion Sanders' son was the victim of a prank phone call that led him to believe that he was about to be drafted by the New Orleans Saints. ABC's Lara Spencer has more.
This morning, the NFL investigating this prank call to draft hopeful Shedeur Sanders, son of NFL legend Deion Sanders, picking up the phone Friday, thinking it was a coach, inviting him to join the team.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
How you doing?
Good, how are you, man?
Good, been waiting on you.
Yeah, we have. It's been a long wait, man.
No, for sure.
We're going to take you with our next pick right here, man.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Let's be legendary.
Yeah, but you're going to have to wait a little bit longer, man.
The caller abruptly hanging up.
What does that mean? You heard that?
He said you're going to have to wait a little bit longer.
Nobody got that number but coaches, strictly for that reason.
But it wasn't a coach or anyone from an NFL team.
This is Mickey Loomis here, GM of the Saints.
Instead, it was these young men seen in this video circulating on social media.
Jax called Shedeur pretending to be New Orleans Saints GM Mickey Loomis. Yep, he straight up faked it. He told Shedeur that the Saints were going to take him with their next pick, and then just before the call ended, threw in a twist saying he'd have to wait a little longer. After hanging up, Shedeur looked visibly unsure, clearly caught off guard, but to his credit, he handled it like a pro. Still, you know that had to sting, especially on a day that was supposed to change his life. When TMZ caught up with Deion at the airport, he brushed it off, acting cool like it didn't bother him one bit.
Hey, it's good to see you, man. Hey, now that the dust has settled, are you happy with how things turned out?
God bless you, man. You know how good God is?
I know, God is good.
You know how good God is?
You happy, man?
God is so good.
Hey, do you forgive the prankster?
God is so good, man.
Okay, man. Thanks very much, buddy. We need hard knocks, bro. We need hard knocks.
But behind the scenes, that's a whole different story. Sources close to the Sanders family say Deion is heated, venting in private, convinced this wasn't just some joke or bad luck. He believes it's all connected to something much bigger, that certain NFL owners deliberately sabotaged Shedeur's moment to make a point. Insiders claim Deion's been telling his circle this was a strategic move to keep him in check, to remind him who's really in charge in the NFL. And lately, he's been dropping cryptic posts on X, adding fuel to the fire that this isn't over yet. I don't care who says it or spreads it. The truth wants to be heard. That's what Deion Sanders wrote online, making it clear he's standing on his beliefs. The truth could be right in front of you for years, but you won't see it if your mind is locked on a lie, he continued. The truth may not be popular, but in the end, it wins. Then in a follow-up post, Deion switched gears a bit, showing some reflection. I can do better, I know better, I was taught better, I've seen better, and I am better, he wrote. I'm thankful for another chance to do what I'm blessed to do, and I won't take it for granted. Lord, create in me a pure heart and renew the right spirit within me. But not everybody's feeling the conspiracy talk, and more fans are starting to question whether this whole drama is less about sabotage and more about a lack of accountability. One big red flag for some execs, Deion constantly bringing up how his sons are going to bring him on as their head coach, that raised some serious eyebrows in NFL circles. Think about it. An NFL team signs Shedeur Sanders and suddenly they're expected to take on his dad as part of the deal? That's not just bold, that's messy. Especially when neither of them seems too open to taking criticism. That kind of setup doesn't just bring pressure, it screams bad chemistry waiting to blow up a locker room.
That's the plan. If that's not what you're trying to do, don't get me. If you ain't trying to change the franchise or the culture, don't get me. So you should know history repeats itself over and over and over. And I've done it over and over and over. So it should be no question why an NFL franchise should pick me.
On the flip side, some fans are keeping it real and asking the tough question, what if teams just didn't think Shedeur Sanders was the right fit? This is the NFL. If a player is truly a can't-miss star, teams will deal with a lot to get him. So maybe, just maybe, this wasn't all about racism or a secret plot. Maybe the league just wasn't sold. Maybe this isn't just about politics or power plays. Maybe it's about NFL teams seeing a young player who still needs to grow on and off the field. But what do you think? Is Deion Sanders right? Was this all a calculated move by NFL owners to humble a flashy father-son duo that shook the system a little too hard? Is Shedeur Sanders being unfairly punished just because he carries himself with confidence and because his dad's name rings out loud in every room? Or are we looking at a case where the hype didn't quite match the performance? Could Deion's bold style and strong personality actually be making it harder for his son to shine on his own? This story's got layers, no doubt, but the biggest question is, was this football or politics in a helmet? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear everything. And don't forget, like, share, and hit that subscribe button so you never miss the real stories behind the headlines. We've got more heat coming, so stay locked in, and we'll see you in the next one.